Hi there, my name is Nicole with MorningChores.com. Today's video, I'm giving you a midsummer garden tour. The garden is changing so fast, so I thought I would get on here and show you what's been different from our previous tour where I did an early summer garden tour. If you missed that video, I'll link it in the description box below. The rooster says hello as well. So grab your favorite coffee, your cup of tea, and let's head to the garden and get started. First stop on our tour is the kitchen garden behind me. This is something that I've been building up and implementing over the past couple years, but I really started getting it going this year. This is my first year where I've really been growing quite a bit up here, and it's been one of my favorite spaces. Overall, things are doing generally well. My tomatoes are having some issues, so let's go ahead and go around and I'll show you what's going on. But overall, it's been a really good experience. Our first stop is the tomato bed, and overall the tomatoes have done well in the sense that I'm getting plenty of tomatoes to eat. I don't know if I'll have quite enough to can. I may have enough, but I may have to purchase some tomatoes to add in so I have enough to make my own pizza sauce. Sometimes I like to also can diced tomatoes. But these got hit with a disease. So as you can see, they are sparse on one side, and these ones over here are still doing pretty well. But I get hit with this disease, and I'll link it here because I can't remember the name offhand, but I get hit with this every year. And from what I've read, it's in the soil and it takes time to work its way out of the soil. Outside of spraying and using chemicals, the only good advice I've gotten is that as long as you keep building up the health of your soil, eventually it will just work its way out. So if anybody has any advice, just leave it in the comments below. But what I have noticed is since implementing the copper pipe, which is also known as electroculture, I mentioned this in my previous garden tour, but in the past 2 years I've been experimenting with electroculture, and last year I took one tomato plant and planted it near the copper pipe, and then all my other tomato plants were on the other side of the garden, and that tomato plant that was near the copper pipe did get this disease, but the disease did not overtake the plant as quickly as it did the other ones. The other ones were gone in like 3 to 4 weeks. Whereas the tomato plant that was next to the copper pipe, it did get the disease, but it was very slow going, and I actually still got tomatoes off that plant. So that's kind of what has happened here. As the disease started showing itself, I would prune the leaves off as best as I could, but eventually it just gets to the point where it's so bad that you can't really keep up with the pruning. But I have noticed that with the copper pipe and the electroculture, it's slowed it down, and I'm still getting tomatoes. So that's pretty exciting, because it's a bummer when you plant something and you're taking care of it and tending to it, and then it just gets hit by a disease and it wipes out your crop. So overall, it's good in the sense that I'm getting tomatoes and I have plenty to eat, but it's a bummer because my plants don't look very healthy. So it is what it is. You just gotta take what you get. Over here on this side of the garden, we have our pepper bed. This is my son's bed where we have our pepper plants. We have bell peppers and we have banana peppers. We did harvest our first banana pepper. My husband hasn't eaten it yet. I grow those for him. He's the only one that likes them. And it's still sitting on our counter, so I'm waiting for him to try it and see if he likes it. The bell peppers, we have some little peppers that are growing, and we're looking forward to picking those and eating them. So overall, they're doing good. Once I got them caged in and kept them away from the pests, they started flourishing and they're doing really well. On this side of me, in this bed here, we have some basil, and I also have some thyme. My thyme plant is probably about 4 to 5 years old now. It is getting more woody, so I may have to replace it next year. We'll see. I mean, it still produces, so I figure as long as it produces, I'm gonna hang on to it. It's just not the prettiest looking thyme plant, but it produces really well. And then the basil is beginning to flower. I've been clipping off basil every week. I clip some off, and I've been drying it so I have basil for the winter months, and it keeps producing. So that has done really well. It did get eaten pretty hard by the slugs, but it made a great comeback. The green beans behind me here are doing well. I've gotten enough trickling in to eat for meals like dinner time. I don't have enough to can, so that's something I'm gonna have to purchase. I think next year I'm just gonna plant more of them so that I have enough to can on my own and I don't have to buy any. But they've been delicious, and I've actually saved some of the seeds so I can plant some next year. Last item over here is my daughter's flower bed, and she's done really well with it. I really haven't done much to it. Occasionally I'll walk by and pick some of the dead flowers, but I've noticed that she'll come out here and do that. So this has kind of just been her domain. And it's been such a joy to have, you know, as we come up the driveway or just we're out here playing, just to see all this color. It's been really, really nice. That's everything in this space. So let's head down to the big garden and see what's growing there. Before we head to the big garden, I took a pit stop at our orchard to kind of explain and talk about what's going on with our apple trees. Our apple trees down here are doing really well. The one behind me here is loaded with apples. The other one only has a couple on them. And then the two pear trees in the back have no pears on them. So we're not really sure what's going on with that, because last year one of them had one pear. So we're just kind of playing it by ear and just seeing how the year ends out. Maybe we'll get pears next year, hopefully. But the only thing with the apple trees is they got hit with something called rust fungus. And basically what it looks like is little copper spots are on the leaves. I did some reading on it, and basically what I learned is that it comes from a fir tree that has the same fungus, which we have a fir tree right over here, probably 20 yards away. But from what I read, they can get this from a fir tree within a 10-mile radius. So even if we got rid of that tree, they could still potentially get it from other trees in the area. So the only other option is to spray in the spring. I'm not really too keen on spraying my apple trees, so I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. From talking with different people, we can still eat the apples. They're not going to hurt us or anything. They're just not going to look very pretty. So I'm probably just going to do nothing, and I don't know, maybe we will take the tree out. We just haven't really decided yet. So they're not very pretty looking, but they do have lots of apples, and I'm super excited to taste them in the fall, which is only in a month or two. So right around the corner, we'll be having some delicious, yummy apples. We're down here at the big garden, and so far the big garden has done very, very well. We harvested my garlic, which I discussed in the previous garden tour. I let that cure in the shed for probably a month, and we just processed it. I got it all cleaned up, and it's inside in storage, and I got a lot of garlic and really big bulbs too. So I'll be giving away a lot because there's just no way we can eat through all this garlic. The potatoes have died off, so I will be harvesting those probably by the end of this week, maybe into the next week. And then everything else has done really well. Our asparagus was really great this year. It's now ferned up, so we are no longer harvesting asparagus. Cucumbers, I wasn't sure how they were doing. They seemed to be slow growing, and then we got back from vacation and we had probably 10 cucumbers. So I guess we needed to go on vacation and come back to get the cucumbers, but they have been delicious. Usually my cucumbers are very bitter and they just don't taste very good, and this is the first year that they have tasted amazing. So we've been eating those a lot. Something we like to do is we like to add a couple slices of fresh cucumber and basil into a glass of ice water, and it's super refreshing on a really hot day, and we've had a lot of hot, humid days, so that's a refreshing drink to try. As far as our squash over here, I believe I planted winter squash, but they're kind of looking like pumpkins, so I'm not exactly sure. There are vines everywhere, which I'm okay with because the more the ground's covered, the less I have to weed, so I'm okay with that. The only other really exciting thing is we have huge sunflowers. I ended up having 4 sunflowers come up, and one is huge. The leaves are bigger than my head. The stalks are super big and sturdy. They have not bloomed yet. I think they're getting ready to, so probably in the next couple weeks we'll see a beautiful sunflower. The only other thing I'd like to mention with the garden spaces is I planted a lot of marigolds, and those have been wonderful. They have just been thriving. They've gotten bigger, and I've been getting blooms all summer, so I'll just go around and poke the ones that died off and new ones come up. So I would say marigolds are one of my new favorites. It's just a really good bang for your buck because they last all summer and they're beautiful. So I would highly recommend getting some marigolds in your garden next year. The last place I wanted to show you is my berry patch, and we're here in the elderberry section, and the elderberries have done amazing this year. I have gotten so many elderberries, and what's been great about this year is normally in previous years I've had to harvest them a little early because the birds eat them all. So I would have to harvest them a little early and let them finish ripening on the kitchen counter. But this year I've been able to keep them on the vine, and I've been able to let them get this really rich purple color, which is ideal. This is what you want, is that just beautiful purple color. And the chickens love them too. So we'll snap off a couple here and give them to the chickens because they eat them so quickly. It's really funny. The last section in my berry patch is the blackberries, and they are thriving. We had a couple eaten by deer, but they came back. I don't think we'll be getting berries this year, probably next year, but they're thriving, they're doing really well, and we're excited to eat those berries in the upcoming years. The garden is changing so fast, and I feel like we're already in the downhill slope into fall, which is a little bit of bittersweet. I've really enjoyed this gardening season, and it is a little bit sad to see it coming to an end, but it's also exciting to see what fall has for us. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I would love to hear, as the rooster also wants to affirm, what is going on in your garden. We would love to hear in the comment section below what's doing great, what are you struggling with, and any advice for what you saw in my garden I would be definitely open to, so let me know. You can also take the time to head over to morningchores.com where there's more information on gardening, taking care of orchard trees, and much, much more. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and we will see you on the next video.